Wonderful. Welcome again, everyone, to the Introduction to Citizen Science and Libraries webinar. We are so excited to welcome you all today. My name is Tara Cox. I am a project manager at SciStarter, which you'll hear a little bit more about today. And I am joined by Robin Salthouse, a retired librarian and our chief library expert who has helped us shape a lot of the work that we've been doing with libraries. I'm also joined by Emily Early, who is the manager of the Library Network, Caroline Nickerson, who is a project director, and we're all going to be talking to you about a lot of things related to citizen science and libraries today. And yes, this meeting will be recorded and shared with anyone who is registered, as well as featured on the Library Network page of our website that we'll tell you a little bit more about in a minute. So today's agenda, we have an hour and we've left ample time for questions. For those who are just joining us, you don't have access to video and audio today, but we will be communicating through the chat, so let us know your questions there. We're going to tell you a little bit of a high-level overview of what is citizen science and how have libraries been engaging in citizen science. We're going to give you some goals and a vision for the National Citizen and Community Science Library Network that we launched back in May, and many of you have already signed up for that. And we'll tell you about the benefits and expectations for joining this network. We have a suite of resources that we've developed for libraries to engage in citizen science that we will tell you about and give you an overview of SciStarter.org, the website, and the subsequent resources. And then we'll tell you about some upcoming opportunities for you to join in right away and start becoming a community hub for citizen science. So Emily, I don't know if that poll was launched. I don't see it, but do you want to give us an overview of where are people calling in from?
Sure. So it looks like we had 28% calling in from the South. We had quite a few in the chat calling in from the Northeast. 12% from Northwest, 23% from the Midwest, 16% from the Southwest, and 16% from the West. And then we had 5%, 2 people from outside of the US as well.
Wonderful. We're so excited to have you all. And it's great to see representation from coast to coast and beyond. So what is citizen science? Some of you may be familiar with this, and that's why you're here. Others may be new to citizen science, and that's okay. We have a suite of resources that are going to help you get more comfortable and confident with citizen science and bringing this to your library. But the big picture is that citizen science is a global movement that enables people from all walks of life to collaborate with scientists by participating in real scientific research. So collecting and analyzing data for scientists in a variety of different subjects to help advance scientific research. And it's a way that people can make a difference and really engage in issues that impact them and their communities. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about the various citizen science projects that people can get into. This is just a very high level overview. There are hundreds of citizen science projects, dare I say thousands, at this point that you can get involved in. Many of them are global, many of them are regional. So you'll want to see what kind of fits best for you and your library, but here's an overview here of some of the best projects for libraries that we have found by talking to librarians. The Stahl Catchers project, which is a game that you can play to accelerate Alzheimer's research. The Globe at Night project, which is a project that you go out and you measure the night sky and determine how much light pollution your area has. Light pollution is something that affects not only astronomers, but our sleep patterns. So this project is helping to collect data about light pollution globally. Other projects like Flew Near You, I See Change is a great one. You can document weather in your community, right? Scientists are studying things across the spectrum, and sometimes they need a lot of data that people are better at gathering than them because of your location, because you're out in the real world observing things every day. So because of citizen science, we know that, for example, some bird populations have declined by 50%, right? Citizen scientists have been looking and saying, hey, I don't see this bird as much anymore, and then contributing to that data. We know that birds are breeding earlier, or that 50% of bacteria, there are 50 types of bacteria that live in your belly button. This was a citizen science project that actually had people send in swabs from their belly buttons to get analyzed. We know that the first flowering of 19 species of plants has moved 9 days earlier in the past decade. We know that there are new types of aurora in the sky. One in particular, some citizen science discovered and named Steve. And in one weekend in 2019, citizen scientists accomplished 2,566 research hours, which was 3.5 months of lab work in equivalent to help accelerate Alzheimer's research. So citizen science is a way to engage in these real projects, and libraries have started to pick up on this. What are the benefits to science and society? You probably know these just by hearing about these projects. One of them is that it broadens the scope of who can contribute in science. Citizen science breaks barriers and stereotypes of who is engaging in real scientific research. It empowers participants to engage in data collection and in analysis and interpretation. It enables participants to learn about the scientific method and participate in science. And ultimately, it accelerates really important research. So as we said, many libraries are becoming hubs for citizen science. They are gathering materials, tools, showcasing citizen science, building citizen science kits to engage their communities in this important work. So we have a quick poll for you right now. What types of STEM programming do you currently offer your library users? We're interested to know.
The poll should have just launched on your screen. But if you don't see it on your screen for some reason, you can let us know in the chat what kinds of STEM programming you currently offer at your library or other location.
And feel free to type other things in the chat if you don't see your STEM programming listed there. All right, Emily, why don't you tell us what the poll shows?
Okay, so we still have some results coming in. I will share it with you all in just a moment, but it looks like 76% of the participants in our meeting today has done STEM programming for young children and families. 63% have had STEM programming for youth. 28% have done STEM programming for adults. 42% has events with STEM subject specialists. 18% have done STEM outreach. And then 13% has other kinds of STEM programming that they have offered. And I see some coming in the chat now.
Yes, I think some great ones that we know lots of libraries are offering are seed lending programs, which are great. And actually they go really well with some of the citizen science projects that we'll tell you about. Bookmobiles. Someone said everything STEM, which is wonderful. Let's see, behind the scenes tours of water treatment plants. That's awesome. And some said they currently don't do much citizen science programming or are looking to do more, which is great. And we're glad you're here. So we just want to remind you that citizen science is not your average STEM program, because it's not just educational, like some of the other programs that you described are, like the coding clubs or the STEM clubs, because citizen science programming is meant to get people to really engage in the scientific research by collecting or analyzing data. And it involves collaboration with scientists. Generally, citizen scientists are adults, although children can participate in the projects as well with the help of an adult. And many of the data collection requires you to be over the age of 13. So having the adult be the one that submits the data is an important piece. but it's different than the types of programming that you often see regarding STEM in libraries, which is great. It's a new way to engage your community in science. And we can talk more in later webinars about how to do that, right? So just a reminder, today's webinar is going to be pretty high level to kind of showcase all of the resources that we have. And then our subsequent webinars, we're launching this as a series for you all, professional development for libraries. And I know there's a lot of people watching, are going to be watching the recording too. So hello to those folks in the future. This is going to be a series for you to be able to build your capacity around bringing programming to your libraries. So I'm actually going to launch it now. Back over to Robin, who will tell you a little bit more about this National Citizen and Community Science Library Network.
Thanks, Tara. Welcome everyone to the National Citizen and Community Science Library Network. If you haven't joined yet, please go to scistarter.org/library-network, or the website at the bottom of this slide. Membership is free and will provide you with a monthly newsletter, occasional communications with new and updated resources, as well as professional opportunities, development opportunities. This network is comprised of libraries and community-based organizations across the US. Let's look at the goals we've established for this network. So we're going to build capacity of libraries to become hubs for citizen science. You are already community centers, and citizen science provides you with an opportunity to appeal to a larger and more diverse audience. We're going to support a community of libraries engaging their communities in citizen science. During this webinar, we are going to review a variety of free resources we've developed for your use so you aren't starting from scratch. We're going to broaden participation of diverse communities in citizen science. We will be providing you with the opportunities and ideas to reach out to community-based organizations to expand your reach. We've already been working with the Girl Scouts, 4-H, senior citizen and amateur astronomy organizations to tap into their membership to build partnerships with their local libraries. All of these goals are already shaping and accelerating scientific research. We've already received data from project scientists that this effort has increased contributions to their research. Your participation will only strengthen these results. Let's look at the benefits and expectations of your national network membership. Of course, we're going to give you ongoing professional development like today. We've developed kit guides and marketing resources to get you going and get you going fast. We're also working on providing you with the money through future grant and funding opportunities to support this program. And we've developed a community of practice with other libraries who are also invested in citizen science. And we're also giving you access to a national network of community-based organizations, as I just mentioned, who are committed to broadening participation in STEM through citizen science. And we're also going to provide you access to evaluation reports with data and findings, which could be instrumental in getting support from your decision makers, your management, the funders within your community. And what are some of the expectations we have for you? Well, first of all, please sign up if you haven't already for the network. It's free and is just a short form to fill out. And then engage your community in citizen science with all the great resources we're going to talk about today. One way to do that is to build and circulate citizen science kits that have already been developed, or maybe you'll develop in the future. And of course, nothing's going to work unless you promote awareness of the events you're going to be doing and this network that's available to you and possible partners. And of course, attending webinars and community of practice calls will only strengthen your knowledge and confidence and participation. And then of course, we always need your feedback. So we're going to maybe occasionally ask you to help with surveys, and certainly always looking to get feedback from you. So I'm going to turn it back over to Tara.
Wonderful. I want to pause just for a minute because I know we've already given a lot of information out. Does anyone have questions about the launch of the network and the goals and the expectations and benefits of the network? Feel free to type them in the chat. Dan has a question. Are projects predetermined or can we make our own? So the citizen science projects themselves are projects that real scientists are proposing based on their own research. So typically, I mean, this is real scientific data collection. Caroline probably knows better about the process of how projects come into existence. Caroline, do you want to just jump in and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that you can co-create with us in terms of like your programs. But in terms of how citizen science projects come into existence, I have seen community organizations create their own before, but usually you're joining an ongoing research project that might be based out of a lab at some university or a nonprofit or an NGO. And you're contributing or analyzing data, which is just information for that project. So citizen science is as broad as science itself. You know, never say never. Maybe your library designs their own soil protocol and studies soil in their area, but it might be more effective for you to join an ongoing soil project, for example, and become part of a national or international study while also gaining some local insight. And for those who haven't met me, I'm Caroline. Thank you so much to Tara, Robin, and Emily for organizing this awesome webinar, and you'll hear a little bit more from me at the end.
Thank you, Caroline. And Dan, we're going to talk a little bit about how to source projects in just a moment, because there are thousands that you can look up, and many of them are regional and are very specific to your community. Emmanuel has a question, are you only working in the US or with US libraries? No, these resources can be used globally. Many of them are in English, so we would want to work with you to create things in the language of your community, but please reach out. And if you're interested, we'd love to expand these resources even more and make them even more accessible. We do have some Spanish resources, but we're always hoping to work with as many folks as we can. And really, this model is extremely flexible and can be for any international library as well. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about the website and the resources that we have available. So if you are not familiar with SciStarter.org, this is a great database of thousands of citizen science projects that have been gathered from all over the internet and from various partner organizations like universities and laboratories. And the goal of SciStarter is to make these citizen science projects more accessible to anyone to find, especially libraries. So you can go on, and we encourage you to create a SciStarter account. That's different than joining the library network. Your SciStarter account is the way that you would look up the resources. If you yourself want to do the data collection, we encourage you to create a SciStarter account for yourselves and for any participant at your library. So that is always kind of the first step of any of these projects, is to create an account on SciStarter.org so that you can track all of your different projects that you are interested in collaborating and contributing to. And then, as you see here, this is just a screenshot, but you know, at some point, go on and just spend some time on this site. You can search by keywords, you can search by topic areas, you can search by audiences. There are projects that are better for youth, for example, than others. There are ones that are great for gardeners or for amateur astronomers. So you can go and curate your search and figure out which projects are of interest to your community. We've also developed a two-part training for part one, anyone to gain some foundational understanding of what is citizen science. It goes into more than what we're talking about today, since we only have an hour. But after this training, you should be able to answer basic questions about citizen science and related research projects and understand a little bit more about how some of that data collection and the protocol for that, understand different types of projects. And for that, you can receive a badge. We've also developed a part 2, which is specifically for libraries and library staff, to talk a little bit more about how to bring citizen science to your library. So please encourage your staff to take both parts of the training, and you can earn a badge and a certificate for this. It can count against some of your professional development, for the year. We also have SciStarter.org/library resources, which has a lot of promotional resources that are generally about citizen science. What is citizen science? There's some great bookmarks that you can put out. There is a library and community guide to citizen science on there that talks about a lot of things relating to great partnerships around citizen science, book lists for citizen science. So check out the library resources page for all things promotional and just to get a more grounding on what libraries are doing. And again, we're providing a pretty high level overview today, but there are a lot deeper dives that you can do with these resources. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Robin to tell you a little bit more about the kits that we've been developing and the kit guides. Go ahead, Robin.
Thanks. Well, today I'm going to provide a quick introduction to the kits we've developed for you to build and offer for circulation to your communities. Just know at the end of this webinar, we're going to talk about a date that you can join and get a deeper dive into understanding the kits we've developed so far. So you can learn about each kit by visiting the website you see here, SciStarter.org/library, build a kit. And today, let's look at the next slide. We're going to look at specific, we're going to have a quick overview of how this all came about. So in 2017, Arizona State University received an Institute of Museum and Library Services grant where they worked with SciStarter to create this program with a small group of Phoenix area public libraries. I was the librarian as part of that project, initial project. And over the years, we worked with the communities, developed the kits, and we made sure that the kits that were brought and forward and developed had significant scientific research interest to the community. And just recently in 2020, IMLS provided further funding to grow this project nationally. And one of the things that told the grant that it was important was that 92% of the library users who responded to the grant said that they would check out other citizen science kits. So the feedback was positive. This was an important grant and we needed to grow it. And that's why we're here talking to the whole United States of libraries. Next slide. So let's take a look at the one of the kits in particular, the Measuring Light in the Night. And you can find more details, as we've said before, about building this kit through the website mentioned below. But when you look at these kits, you'll see that they contain several different items. And in Measuring the Light in the Night, which supports the Globe at Night Light Pollution Research Project, you'll see there's a sky quality meter. It's about the size of a pack of cards. The kit also includes a red flashlight, which protects your night vision. You don't want to have bright lights in your eyes when you're trying to do these measurements and get this data. In the back of this kit picture is the planisphere, and you want to make sure you have a planisphere related to your location, and that helps you orient yourself to the stars at that particular time. And then also we include an activity guide that leads you step by step to enable your user to gather the data and submit it for this specific project. There's a picture of the materials in the kit, as well as ideas for other projects, research projects you may want to submit data to. And finally, the kits are stored, in this case, in a box, which allows great storage in the library and a handle to take it easily out into the field. So when you look at these other kits we've developed, you'll find similar materials. And also, we'd hope you could use this as a model if you, for instance, as mentioned earlier, find a project that's more pertinent to your community. Next slide. So what we've done just recently is we've gone back and we've created kit guides, which give you step-by-step, soup to nuts directions and ideas to create a kit, whether it's been developed or again, use it as a model to develop your own kit. And it includes things like the research project overview, the kit content supply list, bibliographic record examples for your library management software, suggestions for training your staff. It's important that your staff knows what's going on so they can help engage your community with these kits, and resources to further engage the community and get involved with citizen science. And then don't forget, we're going to work with you to provide resources to help apply for funding through your state library, Friends of the Library, and even civic groups like Rotary may be able to help you fund this project. Next slide. So once you figure out which theme of the existing kits that you want to focus on, you can start building the kit, and then you have all these great promotional materials. On the far right is a picture of a stand that we used in our library to help create kind of a central point of interest. I actually would catch people looking at the material and go up and engage with them in a conversation to learn about what they knew about citizen science or answer questions for them. But if you're not available, these rack cards you see on the right side are great for this sign holder or even a tabletop sign holder, where the observing pollinators rack card tells about the project. The middle card there is a holds request. If you decide that you're going to let people put holds on kits that are checked out currently, they could take the card to the staff and say, hey, I want to put a hold on and get this kit when it's available. And then the checkout card allows your users, library users, to know if a kit is even in and available. There's a section at the very bottom that you can put a barcode on. The person pulls it from the display, takes it to your desk, and the staff knows to look for this kit based on the barcode, and it is available. We've also developed lots of posters, whether it's large for a stand like we are showing, or 8.5 by 11 that can be used in displays, or as shelf talkers in a particular part of your library collection. They're all there for download or to use electronically. Okay, next slide. I think it's back to you, Tara. Or no, I think now we're going to have Caroline talk about all the events that we've been doing and how you might want to get involved in the future. Caroline?
Yeah, thank you so much, Robin. And oh my gosh, it makes me so happy seeing those faces on the screen. 1 second, I was trying to find the optimal place. I'm on campus today. Some of you may also be back in person. I bet a bunch of you are sitting at your desks right now with your mask on, just like me. But yes, so citizen science events, there are lots of different ways you can do programs. And as we covered in this webinar, you don't have to just do kits. You could do kits, and you could have people do the Stahl Catchers project at an event where they're classifying, blood vessels through a video game to speed up. And if we go back to the last slide, 1 sec, sorry about that. You'll see an example of one of those Stahl Catchers events in the bottom corner of that slide. The Los Angeles Public Library had people come to the library and do a meetup in the computer lab where they all played Stahl Catchers, which is really cool. So there are lots of different ways you can get involved in those projects through different events. You can be creative about it. You can do asynchronous events. You can do online events. There's a project for you. If we could go back to the slide, sorry about that. So, oops, we went a little far. So if we go back to my slide with the images on it really quickly, thank you. Yeah, and you can do things all around the world. So just really quickly on these images, you can do things at like fairs in your community. So there's a picture on there in the top right corner where someone's at a festival with a table about citizen science, and they're doing projects. So people will come up to the table. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a team in Nigeria. They mapped their communities with citizen science. So they're looking for flood-prone communities right now. And they're using different apps and websites to do that through citizen science, which is cool. And another festival picture on the top left, and then bottom left is that computer lab meetup for that Alzheimer's research game I told you about. We'll go to the next slide. And then I'm just going to quickly talk about this. There are lots of different opportunities. I have office hours each week, and you'll actually usually see Robin there as well, almost every single week. So definitely go to those because we can help you with turnkey programs. We have a number of opportunities right now that we'll cover in later webinars. But you can always add your event to our program to SciStarter for people who can to discover. You're seeing on the left side some images from Citizen Science Month where people did all sorts of different cool programs. Some of them were online webinars where people participated at the same time. Some of them were take and makes with different citizen science kits related to pollinators and even more. And for many of them, especially the one that's up right now, Waldport, it just went away. But that's in Washington State. I joined them for, I think, 3 different Zoom events where we did projects together, and it was just so much fun, and we made a difference at the same time. So definitely add your events to SciStarter. People from outside your library might discover them too, which is kind of cool, and you might bring new people in. Celebrate with me during Citizen Science Month. We do a lot during April every year. And the main thing is you learn by doing. So don't be afraid, just get started. And thank you so much to the whole team again for today's webinar.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And thanks for taking the time. Caroline's getting her PhD and just started this week. So thank you for finding 5 minutes to talk to us today. Caroline really is your go-to source for so many things. And we'll talk to you a little bit more about the resources and how to get into contact with us. But Caroline is an invaluable resource. And as Caroline mentioned, there are office hours as well as scistarter.org/events where you can find a lot of different resources there and in this community and citizen science guide. And I did see a really interesting comment in the chat about using community versus citizen science. And we have been seeing that as a trend as well. Folks thinking about not necessarily referring to this as citizen science because we know citizen, for example, might be a word that we don't want to use in that way. So
I can speak to that really quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so our founder, Darlene Cavalier, was actually on, for those of you who are into academic journals, on a recent article where she discusses the terminology issues there. At a practical level at SciStarter, we will work with anybody who calls it anything as long as they are doing real science. So like the Los Angeles Public Library, who I work with a lot, and I know others on the team have too, they call it neighborhood science. So they're doing projects that may call themselves citizen science, like Globe Observer through NASA, where you're helping NASA, study the Earth. But they call it neighborhood science programming. Community science can often refer to projects that are co-created with a community. So that could be, for example, in upstate New York, the Citizen Science Community Resources Group, they do community science because they're working in conjunction with community members to figure out like where soil might be toxic to human health. And that can be different from citizen science, which can be more of a joining an ongoing effort that might be global in regard to data collection and following a set protocol instead of doing the co-creation. But that's getting really complicated. To kind of take it back a little bit, at the end of the day, we'll work with you no matter what terminology you use, public engagement, neighborhood science, community science, citizen science. But if you're interested in the ongoing terminology discussion, definitely there are articles about that. And I think the one that Darlene and her co-authors, Darlene Cavalier from SciStarter and her co-authors recently published is a great entryway into that. And I'll find the link for the chat.
That's great. And we can include that in our follow-up email as well to the group.
I just added it to the chat, so.
Oh, great. Thank you, Emily. We have a great team here. If you didn't see, we are all of us one moving train, and it is just wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, let's keep going here because I want to leave some time for questions. Upcoming opportunities. So we do have, as I mentioned, this is just the first of many, many professional development opportunities for libraries. We have 2 on the books right now. That doesn't mean there won't be more in this time. You never know, things always come our way, and we always have partners that are looking to partner particularly with libraries around things because you all are so wonderful. I should have started off by saying that at the beginning. We absolutely love working with libraries. You are some of our most effective partners, great collaborators, and everywhere. So a lot of people also feel the same way and are always coming to us saying, hey, we have this resource and we want to showcase it and we want libraries to use it. So that is another benefit of joining that, that network and getting the newsletter. There'll always be opportunities there, mini grants, kits, other professional development opportunities. But we do have 2 on the books that are already up on the website, and I'm going to show you the website right now so that you can see where to register for these. The first is how to host a citizen science program. So that goes into a little bit more, a deeper dive. How do you get in touch with local experts to talk about projects? What might a program look like, whether it's virtual or in person? What are some activities that you can do at your citizen science program? And then in January, we'll do a deeper dive into the kits that Robin was talking about, going through some of those kit guides, talking about the various materials, what is flexible, what is not, how do you go about funding for these kits. We can provide you with examples. We can, maybe some things that we can provide are like a letter template that you can send to your friends and family, or your friends group, or your civic group, or your state library, saying, this is what we would like funding for. We are looking to you all, in fact, to learn a little bit about what you need as far as being able to successfully find funding to build citizen science kits. So please join those 2 webinars. Let me just show you quickly the network page here. So the network page features kind of an opening, talks a little bit about what the network is. This is how you can join the network. That's a sign up sheet. Here's a link to the training that we talked about earlier, a resources page, and a kits page. That is where the step-by-step kit guides are. We also have this library. Is everyone seeing this, by the way, or are you still on the slides?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. Here's a link to the office hours where you can reach Caroline and Robin. We have 2 times. One is 8 to 8:30 Eastern, or 11 to 11:30 Eastern on Thursdays. Please email the library network at SciStarter.org with any questions. Here are the upcoming webinars, and you can register for each of them. Well, not this one, because you're on it. And then we're going to find a place to feature the webinar recordings on this site too, as soon as we're done. So this is kind of the first stop for you all. And then you can go in. This is obviously, there's nothing quite here yet, but this little carousel is going to feature upcoming opportunities and things as they come up as well. Okay, let me go back to my slides. That's pretty much all we have for today. As far as the high level overview for these resources. Oh, that's a great question. So for kit costs, each of the kit guides provides materials lists with each of these, with a breakdown of the costs. So we can, since we have a little bit of time, we can show one of those. Why don't we show the measuring light kit guide?
Yeah, and Tara, just to comment on that, sky quality meter is a little bit more on the expensive side, but if you read the kit guide, we've given you a link to the manufacturer, and there should be a code as a library that you can use to get a discount. Okay, that is not in there. That needs to be re-added in there. So I'm glad we found that. But so yeah, the price of those just recently went up like everything else right now. But yeah, that's a little bit more expensive.
And some of these things are optional too, like the plastic boxes. Some of them are not optional. What else do we have? We have links to all the printable materials that go in the kits, like the activity guides. We talk a little bit about how to catalog the kits so that you can circulate them, promoting them. So yes, check out this page, the library build a kit. And these are we currently have exploring biodiversity, observing pollinators, and measuring light at night fully complete. We are going to be working on new kits all the time. That is one of the goals of this network. Oh, thank you, Valerie. Valerie says the breakdown is great of the different resources. And we'd love your feedback on these guides. And let me just put that out there as well. We're here to make this work for you all, and we can only do that with your feedback. So please, if you have any thoughts, email the library network at SciStarter.org, email on future calls. Please share your thoughts as you go through these resources. Hopefully we'll be having some community on office hours. That's a great time to go on and ask questions. Any other, I see a lot of questions in the chat, both from Larissa and Christine. Actually, how long do these projects last? Is there an end date? I'm gonna pass this to Robin to talk a little bit more about the timing for these projects.
Well, currently, the projects that we have listed are ongoing. We had a kit specifically from Arizona, and it appears that the researcher funding was cut. So those kind of things will happen. I'm hoping that's what you're asking. So yes, we are trying to have kits and that relate to projects that are ongoing. And we're also working to make sure, and this is really important in the research we found, to have projects where the participants get feedback on their data input or observation submissions. So if you go to globeatnight.org and you go through the website, you'll see that when you input your data point for the light pollution or light intensity measurement you took, it automatically goes on a map. So you get feedback immediately knowing that your submission is being recorded and people can see it. And those maps for the Globe at Night project are really telling. And every year you should put in your input. If you, like I do, take a measurement from your backyard and submit it, you may see a difference in the light around your neighborhood and get that immediate feedback from year to year. So hopefully that answers your question.
I think too, maybe Robin, they were asking how long would a participant check out the kit, or how long does it take to complete a project?
Okay, yeah, sure. So check out, again, as a librarian who worked with materials for many years at my own local public library, we felt 2 weeks was a good time to check out. The other thing you can determine is, do you renew these kits? Can people keep them for another 2 weeks or whatever your renewal policy is? 3 weeks, which is typical for a lot of materials. If somebody isn't going to do something within 2 weeks, they probably don't have the time to do it. Get the kit back in and let someone else have a chance to work on it. And as far as how long a particular project takes to participate in for that data input, it can just be a matter of a few minutes. I do a lot with iNaturalist. That's having the app on my phone. Once I get things set up, taking a photo that's usable, and there's great tips in iNaturalist how to do that with the Observing Biodiversity Kit, and then uploading that picture either through the mobile app or coming home later and submitting it through a computer when I have internet access. So most of the projects that we have in kit form now, I'm trying to take minutes if you just want to do one data entry. I mean, observing, measuring light at night, you want to wait to a certain point at night, an hour after the sunset, you don't want a moon. So, I mean, if you talk about all of that, it could take, an hour to prepare for it, but the actual data collection is just minutes, and that's pretty typical.
Yeah, that's great. I think it also depends on how many times somebody wants to collect data. The
Yes.
pollinators kit, for example, that one revolves around going outside and observing pollinators, bees, butterflies, and collecting data on how many times a pollinator visits a plant. So you can be out there for as long as you want collecting that data. And somebody did ask, are there materials with the kit that can be used by leaders and scouts, etc.? So not currently, but we are actively working with our community-based partners like the Girl Scouts, like 4-H, to develop follow-up activities or activities that even come before using the kit to support the kit use. Many of them have a lot of curriculum that is tied to especially things like gardening and pollinators. So that is a great tie-in, and we are looking to build out these activities a little bit more so they aren't just about the data collection, but also about some follow-up activities or some pre-activities that can kind of fill out the program. And we're looking to you for that as well. There is really no wrong answer here, especially once you look at the kit. You might already have something that works very well with the kit. For example, a community garden. The pollinators kit and hosting a program doesn't even have to be the kit. You can get together and host a group pollinator data collection around your own community garden. The seed bank, for example, that came to mind in thinking about the pollinators program and tying it to, lending seeds that are pollinating plants that pollinators are interested in visiting. So there's a lot of connections, and we encourage you to look for those within programs that you're already doing and embed this real data collection piece, the citizen science piece, into those existing programs. You don't have to start from scratch at all. And we love the kit idea because then folks can kind of do it on their own time. But you can also do this in your library and have the data collection happening right there, and not have a kit at all associated with that. So there are lots of ways.
Yeah, and Tara, on that note, in conjunction with the iNaturalist or Observing Biodiversity Kit, Google, and there's also links within that library kit guide, is BioBlitz. That's an amazing group activity that I did at my library in Gilbert, Arizona with a fellow librarian, where we organized a time and a location. Lucky for us, we had an amazing place just outside of our library where we broke people into groups and with their iNaturalist app ready to go on their mobile device, and went out and basically took an inventory of this area behind the library. And that meant taking pictures and uploading them to iNaturalist for bugs or birds or plants or fungus. So that's just one example, and we'll probably get into more detail of that at that call where we're going to talk about hosting a program. Also, just another quick glimpse, think about having experts, and we don't mean scientists per se. It could be a beekeeper, having a beekeeper come in and talk about how important bees are to pollination, which is only a small part of the Observing Pollinators project. Is a great way to get people interested and inform them why we want to protect our pollinators. That's a great segue into introducing that project. So those are the kind of things we're going to help you with, that we want you to think of. You may have some great ideas we never even thought about. So get those thinking caps on, and we'd love to hear from you at future webinars.
Absolutely. We had a great question from Larissa, which I think many of you might be thinking too. How do we know if we're providing useful data? And Caroline chimed in the chat and said, lots of projects have built-in protocol in such a way that they have quality data control. So you can participate without worrying as long as you're following the instructions, and the websites are pretty particular about the kinds of data that you're collecting. But that is also a great activity to have with any of the participants that are doing the project. What is good data collection? You can do a whole kind of activity before they even jump in around data collection, and we're thinking about that too. What are some great introductory activities? I saw another question in the chat that I just wanted to get to as well. Valerie asked, do the community participants who complete the data get credit in the bibliography of the scientist's work? Sometimes, yes. For example, that the Aurora that I told you about at the beginning that they named Steve was found by a citizen scientist, and that citizen scientist got credit for naming that Aurora and is now yeah, they are credited for that. And there are a lot of other examples of that, particularly with some NASA projects, folks that are finding new planets, new solar systems, they are getting credit for that work. Caroline, do you have any other examples of that? You're more of an expert than I am in the projects themselves.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. I'm washing my hands. But yeah, Delta variant always lurking. But yes, the Stahl Catchers project is a really good example. So they cited citizen scientists in Nature, which is one of the most important scientific journals. But I think the short answer is it depends on the project. Some projects don't cite people and others do. And some projects, maybe they never have like a research worthy publication.
Great feedback. And yeah, you brought up Stahl Catchers, which is something that I wanted to bring up as well. One of the ways that you can immediately kind of get into bringing citizen science is there's a lot of projects that require a computer and just a computer and internet connection. So thinking about that as well and helping to broaden participation for under-resourced communities to participate. You can start with a project that doesn't require any materials but that, like the Stahl Catchers project, which is just playing a game online to determine whether is it a synapse is stalling in a mouse or not. I'm not exactly sure. Something along those lines. Go ahead, Caroline.
You're looking at videos of mice brains, and Robin's played a lot of Stahl Catchers, so I know she knows. It's a super easy, fun project because they've gamified it. So you're looking at these blood vessels and you're trying to see whether or not they're stalled or flowing. And they test different data sets that have different things about Alzheimer's. So every data set's different. I'd look at Stahl Catchers to see what they're studying at the moment. Like one time they studied whether or not these blood vessels contributed to like if exercise had an impact on restoring memory in mice with Alzheimer's, but every data set's different, super robust project and really fun and accessible to do from anywhere on the internet.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you, Caroline. Blood vessels, not synapses, but thank you for clarifying that. And thank you, Emily, for putting that in the chat. So we only have 5 minutes left. Are there any other questions before we close out today? Feel free to type them in the chat. I'm just scrolling back up. Are these kid-friendly? Kaylee says, yes, many of these projects are kid-friendly. Like I said, you need to be a certain age to create an account on SciStarter and in many of these projects, so that we encourage an adult to participate in the projects with the kids, like a scout leader, or even the librarian, you yourselves, or whoever's leading the program. If you have an after-school program and want to bring this there, the adult would have to submit the data, but the kids can certainly collect the data. I think the Great Sunflower Project and the pollinator one is an awesome one to do with kids. You can do a whole lesson around what is a pollinator, what are we looking for, and then go out and collect that real data and submit it. And kids can feel empowered. I think that we know from research that doing real science empowers young learners to feel like scientists and broaden participation of who feels like a scientist. So think about that as you are building your STEM programming for the year and how you might incorporate citizen science into those existing programs.
And really quickly, SciStarter actually has a Girl Scouts journey in partnership with Girl Scouts USA. So that might be a resource for you because I know many libraries collaborate with the Girl Scouts in their area. And there's also a SciStarter education page that has some projects divided by grade level. These are just suggestions because like I do Great Sunflower to study pollinators as a 27-year-old by myself. But it's a project where the only skill you really need to have to do it is to know how to count. So that's where we got our grade level gradations. It's what's the maximum skill level required to participate in this. So that those two pages might be a resource to you all.
That's great. Thank you, Caroline. And you can search projects by age appropriateness as well on SciStarter. So make sure to do that as well. All right. Thank you again for today. Thank you, Dodie. We really appreciate you all being here, and we hope to see you on future webinars. We want to build this as a network and really hear from you. I know today was only chatting through the chat, and we want this to be more collaborative in the future as well. So we'll keep thinking of ways to get together and have this be a dialogue between us and you. You are the experts. We're here to support you. So please join that network, and so that you can get our newsletters and come to the office hours with Caroline. We really are excited about the potential of citizen science in libraries. We already know that some libraries are doing it and having a lot of success. So thank you again, and we'll see you in November.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.